Welcome back to another episode of Gatehouse Insights. I'm sure you've missed me as much as I have missed you. In this episode, we'll hear from the very talented and passionate Josephine Bastone, and she will shed a light on how she has survived in the fashion industry for the last 30 years, how she has dealt with hiccups and roadblocks throughout her career, and whether there is really such a thing as having it all. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Gatehouse Legal Recruitment YouTube channel where you can see more. To your early days and why you decided to pursue a career in fashion.
Okay, well, basically, I'd say it was pretty much inevitable that I was going to enter into this industry for the simple fact that I went to bed listening to a sewing machine. I would wake up listening to a sewing machine. That is my dear mother, because her setup, she was, I'd say she was more into tailoring and her specialty was tailoring. But she did a lot of dressmaking for locals, and she worked from my bedroom basically. So I from the early age of maybe about 11 or 12, I actually started to help her. She would give me, which was a lot of money back then, Louise, she would give me 20 cents, 50 cents, didn't get anywhere close to $1. For doing hemlines too, but that was a lot of money, and things just started to progress, from there. But at the same time, I have to be honest and say I'm very grateful for that, because by the time I got to about year 11, and then on to year 12, I knew what I wanted to do. I did know what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to RMIT to get my BA in fashion, but I knew it wasn't an easy task to do, for the simple reason that the school that I went to, the high school that I went to, girls' college, they didn't offer art, nor did they offer textile and design, I think it was called at the time. So, and they wouldn't even offer it to me correspondence back then. So consequently, when I finished year 12, I decided to do a gap year. And this gap year wasn't so much to travel, as most people say, oh yeah, I'm taking a gap year, I'll go and travel around the world or so forth. I actually took a gap year because I wanted to do a work experience year. And I was very, very lucky that I landed. At the time, there was a lady called Desbina Collins. She was a Greek lady, a Greek designer, who was also a graduate of RMIT, the BA degree. And she was situated in Little Collins Street. And because I had the background of knowing how to sew, it wasn't so much pattern making, it wasn't design work, it was just a simple fact that I knew how to design, I knew how to sew, taught to me by my dear mother, that she took me on as work experience. Only for a couple of weeks initially, it should have been, but she asked me to stay on for the year, basically. Again, she wasn't paying me much, but I wasn't there. I clearly wasn't there for the money. I was there for the experience because I wanted to get into RMIT to do that degree. But I knew I couldn't get in without one, art, HSC at the time, because it wasn't BCE, it was HSC, art, and a folio. So during that year that I worked for her, gaining experience, at night I did HSC art at University High School there in Parkville, and so therefore I got 6 subjects in HSC, and I managed to get a really good folio put together, as well as a really, really great reference letter from Desbina at the time. And she was renowned, because if you Google her, she's renowned, a renowned designer who eventually moved over to Paris. Mm-hmm. I got into RMIT, and then, awesome. Yeah, that's pretty much how it just evolved, basically.
And how long have you been doing this now? How long have you been in the industry?
Next year, I can't believe this, that I'm actually saying this, but next year it'll mark 30 years.
Wow.
March the 13th next year, it'll mark 30 years that Romeo Bastone is registered. But, you know, I was obviously trying to build up a clientele base at home before I got married, because in 91, we got married, February 91, and in March 91, I registered Romeo Bastone. So pretty much when we went on our honeymoon, when Ren and I went on our honeymoon, when we came back, got off the plane, instead of going to our home, I had to go straight into the studio rooms there, the Nicholas Building in the city, to rent them out, because I had work. I had started to build up work from home. So we rented out those studio rooms straight from the plane, from our honeymoon, and yeah, that's it.
And that's it.
The rest is basically.
It's awesome, because it's not too many people, I don't think, would have lasted 30 years in the fashion world.
No, but Louise, it's not easy. You gotta love what you do. Okay, I've never walked in, like, each day that I come into my premises here, because I'm now on High Street in Prahran East, and I've been here since 1999, basically. I walk into my studio rooms as if I'm starting my business. This is the first day that I'm starting my business. Yeah. So I walk into my premises every day with the fresh outlook that this is my first day of business. Okay. And I'm going to give it all I've got, you know, because I've always said a purpose, you've got to give yourself a purpose in life. You have to give yourself a purpose in life. So you wake up in the morning and you say, well, I'm going to attempt to do this. I mean, it doesn't always turn out, obviously, but you need to give yourself a purpose in life, because that's what keeps you going. Yeah. It just keeps you fresh. It keeps you healthy. Mentality wise, especially with the circumstances of this year. I mean, it's been an incredible year, but luckily enough, I've still been able to come to work and work in my workroom, not the shop. The shop only opened today. And I was so thankful that it opened today. Oh, I'll tell you what, I went to get my one-a-day coffee, which I do just down the road, and I was smiling to everyone, saying hello to ladies and men and young boys and whatever. And I thought, I don't care who I say hello to. It's just, and they were saying hello too. They were smiling, because it's just beautiful. It is. So yeah, I've been in it a long time, but as I said, you need to love what you do, but more than love what you do, you need to feel happiness towards it. So for me, and I've said this before, I've said this numerous times before, my job, or I am a fully qualified BA designer, and I believe I'm the only one that has a BA in the industry that's been in it for over 20 years, over 25 years, now almost 30 years. I've always said that my job is to make people happy. That's my job. And why do I say that? Because I was told that years ago by a client of mine. One of my bride's mothers said, your job really is making people happy. And I said, actually, you know what? You're actually right. That is my job. And I love it for that reason, because no 2 days in my premises are the same. Never the same. So I'll walk in here and I might just, come onto the computer and do computer work, which I've done a lot of that, updating website, updating, Instagram, social pages, LinkedIn. I've worked a lot on my LinkedIn throughout this period of time that I couldn't see my clients, my brides, or just clients in general. But I've kept working in the workroom, and that's one thing that I'm lucky about, that I was able, because of the radius, the kilometre radius of working close to work, I was able to come to work in my workroom. Yeah. And that's it.
You've got such a great outlook, because a lot of people don't. I suppose I really wanted to go back to the point of where you said you come into your work, your shop, your workroom every day with this is your first day, and that's incredible, because a lot of people don't find that happiness or that joy in their work.
Yeah, no, you're right, Louise, and I'll give you an example. Yesterday, a professional. He's an actual in the legal system, a professional. He called up because I had a question that I needed to ask him, and he called me and said, "Do you realise that because I said to him I was super excited about today opening up again. You know, the shops open up for me to be able to open my doors to the public yet again and to my brides." And he said, "Oh, I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you, Josephine, but my mother, who's just over 70, has been in the industry, and she still works in the industry as a machinist for quite a well-known," she told me, quite a well-known production, though, company, not bespoke, just production. And he said to me, "You are very lucky that you still love your work, that you find joy in your work." And I said, "Yeah, I think I am. But Louise, I've had to build it to this point." Yeah. Okay. It's come with a lot of sacrifices, which over the years now, I look back and I think, oh, well, that was part of my journey, because, everybody has a journey. And it's obviously depends on your outlook as to how you keep moving forward. Because I've always said you have to create your own happiness in life. You have to. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to create your own happiness in life. And to me, my work, my brides have kept me young. That I'm very thankful for. But yeah, work to me is not work. I just come here and it's fun. It's fun. I make it fun, but I make it fun too. So, yeah.
Now, I wanted to touch on the sacrifices you've made, because a lot of people don't see the sacrifices you make, the decisions you make. They just see the shop, they see your Instagram page, your social media page, and they think, look how successful Josephine is. But can you share a little bit about your sacrifices you've made along the way to get to where you're at now?
Yeah. All I can say, Louise, you said successful. See, and I'm going to say this, I don't see myself as successful. No way, Louise. There is no way that, to me, and even, like I have chit-chats with my dear mother, my wise mother, who's 84 years old, and she says to me, your best is still to come. And you know what? That's the way I see it. I don't see Romeo Bastone as being successful. I'm just enjoying this journey, okay? But at the same time, sacrifices, yes, because although my husband and we met at RMIT all those years ago, and he also is a fully qualified BA designer, and he initially started out in menswear, he didn't pursue it. He actually found his forte in hospitality, so he moved into hospitality, and he has had several establishments over the years. And that has come with a lot of sacrifice, because he has mainly worked evenings. I've done days. And we've raised 2 children, but my husband won't say that he's raised them. He gets up to say a speech, at parties or whatever, when we have family gatherings, and he will point to me and he will congratulate me as his wife for raising the 2 children, because although he was there, I did all the school activities, early morning school activities, take them both to school, do my work, pick them up in the afternoon activities, home, dinner, and I would bring my work wherever. Because my children, I don't know if you recall, but my children were swimmers, water polo and rowing. So I used to bring my work everywhere, and people knew that, like, Roman's mother was a bridal designer, because I was doing beading, I had my bag and I was doing work. It came with a lot of sacrifices. It meant that my husband and I didn't really see each other a lot. But at the same time, I have to be honest in saying we were still happy. He did his work, I did my work. It probably wouldn't suit a lot of married couples because it's a lot of work, Louise. Yeah. The moment you say fashion, the moment you say fashion or bridal, people think, oh, glamour, this and that. Oh, there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
My glamour, the way I see it is that my glamour is when I have completed my gowns and my girls give me images. Okay, I esteem because I've had over the years, I've been many occasions I've been asked to provide gowns. Okay, for Logies, for Brownlows. Very few have I done. Very few have I done, and for the simple reason, and I'll say this for the simple reason that you tell me what celebrity status is. To me, celebrity status is every single bride that walks through my door. Their celebrity status. Every single bride that walks through my door or client is a model to me. To me, I just feel, no, if I'm going to show off my work, if you want to say that, or if I'm going to represent my work, well, who best to represent your work on other than somebody that you've created this gown for, basically. Yeah. So it's just been continual. Yeah. So sacrifices in the sense that my husband and I, for 28 years, it was touch and go where he would come home, a couple of hours, I'd be still sleeping for a few more hours, then I'd get up, basically. So because, as I said, I was doing days, he was doing nights. And again, not many relationships can last that way. But having said that, I was happy with my work. He was happy with his, and the arrangement was okay for us. It worked for us. It meant that I could pursue my career, basically. He could pursue his. And if we wanted to visit each other, well, as we still laugh about this today, put it this way, a 30-year marriage, again, it'll be 30 years next year for us. We were calling our Sunday encounters dating. So that we'd be still dating, and that kept the fun going too. Yeah. You have to do that, Louise, because, to take life too serious, no, love, to take life too serious, no. There's got to be that fun element. So for us, it was mainly, okay, Sunday, like my husband would say, you're not working on Sunday, Jose, because I'll be honest, Louise, sometimes I just completely drowned myself in my work, which upset him because I used to bring a lot of my work home to do, even though I've got a couple of helpers that help me in my workroom when need be. But a lot of the, if not all the handwork, I was pretty much doing myself. And I think that's why I've also arrived at this point. Not to say that I didn't trust anyone else. I'm clearly not saying that when it came to the handwork, but it's a very, very, very precise industry and a very perfection industry to get to this point. And so therefore it meant that I wanted to do that side of it. So that's the reason why I would bring work home, where on the Sundays my husband said, you're not doing it, it's our day. So I got to a point where I could do that, especially when, for instance, when my second child, Lauren, finished school. The last day of the school run that I did for her, I thought, oh my God, freedom, which meant that I could stay later at work. I didn't, which was great. It was great. So, yeah.
Looking back over the last 30 years, would you change anything different, or would you do anything differently? What would you change?
No. Louise, don't ever have regrets in life.
Okay.
Never regret anything in life, because remember, every little step that you take is a lesson learned. Okay. Yeah. So, and that's probably one of the key points that I can advise as far as words, my own words of life, just any little step. You should never have regrets in life, because you would have learned, even if something didn't turn out, because, not everything turns out always. But you learn from that and you move forward, even if it is a very, very little step, you move forward. And then it's on to bigger and better things, basically. So, no, I wouldn't change anything. I'll be honest, I wouldn't, because one clear thing that my dear mother taught me years and years and years ago is that small and steady steps lead to the bigger outlook. Okay, small and steady wins a race. I don't think I've won the race. I don't see myself as being successful here. I might have won the awards that I've won, but you know, they're all cut. And I've put it this way, to me, I'm ever so grateful in the sense that if I've won the awards that I've won over the years, it's because my customers recognise. And there's no greater recognition, this is the way I see it anyway, there's no greater recognition than from your own clients that you've dealt with, that you've created this dream gown for, this one dream gown that they've always aspired to having for their big day. And then to get that recognition, well, that to me is, that's a true merit. And I'm so grateful and I'm so gratified by that.
Now, is it, because we often hear in our work, there's a lot of talk about having it all. And women on the outside would look at you and think, Josephine's got it all. She's got a family, she's got a business, she's got, tell me more. Is there such a thing as have it all?
No. That's a fallacy. Yeah. No, you'll never have it all. You'll never have it all. It's like people saying that, oh, I'm not going to buy my house. I'm not going to have children until I've bought my house and yes, I'm well and truly established with my home, and then I'll have children. No, you'll never be well established. You'll never get to that point. Life is full of risks, Louise. It's just full of risks, okay? And no, I haven't. Like I said to you earlier on that I don't even feel I've reached my peak yet. I don't feel I've reached my peak. I mean, 30 years to me is like, as I said, it's like I've started my business again afresh today, especially today, you know, given that we've been given the freedom to come back to work, you know, and open my front doors to the public. So, no, life, to say that you've got it all, sure, I'm you know, I'm thankful to God, you know, and I'm thankful just in general that I've got two beautiful children. You know, we've raised two beautiful children. Yes, I've got my business here, and we've got our home and so forth. And you know, my husband is just so supportive. Ren is just, he's always been so supportive. He's always said, you do whatever you want. What you feel is right, you go ahead and do it. You know, and we feed off one another. You have to feed off one another as a couple, not just on a personal level as a marriage, but on a business level too. Whether you're in the same business or you're in different businesses or together, you have to feed off one another, because it's that's the only way you can move forward, basically. And that's the success. I mean, if you say, Josie, that you're looking at me and think that I have it all, well, to me, I'll say, okay, I've got it all because I've got that working and personal relationship with my soulmate, which is my partner, which is Ren, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, disappointments and setbacks, they come up with our life and our work.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share a little bit about, I don't know, I suppose one disappointment or setback you've had and how you've, I suppose, pushed through it?
Okay. Probably years ago, I would have, I was pressured into forming an alliance in the sense to join up with a more an overseas more production firm, and I said no because I knew that one day, because, you know, things have not always been okay in business. That's just how it is. You've just got to keep persisting. And, you know, financially it might not at the time have been okay for me. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll give this a little bit of consideration. But I stuck to my guns, and I'm so glad I did, because the industry, my industry now at this level, the bridal industry in general, bridal wear industry in Victoria and even Australia-wide, now possibly only between 10 to 15% of us are still in-house couturiers. So we're producing solely Melbourne made, or say, you know, producing solely Australia made, whereas a good, say, 80 to say 85%, maybe even a little bit more, are production, which are cheap imports. But unfortunately, once they hit the shelf, they are skyrocketed in price. In other words, there's no value to it. Okay, so I'm glad that I stuck to my guns and I didn't head that way, because if I had have headed that way, I really don't feel I'd be in business today. So now what I'm doing is more niche, but I've made it and I've been able to sustain it as affordable. So what I am competing, and this is another thing that I'll say, because this can be classified as another, I suppose, not so much setback, but something that I have to deal with every day, that I'm competing with the production end of the industry, which are the cheap imports, basically, that they're manufactured mainly in China, and then they get shipped off to various wholesalers. But before and by the time they hit the retail shop, the final retail shop, there's probably between a 600 to 800% markup on those gowns, okay, which is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous because there's no value in these dresses. So my setback is not so much a setback. It's something that I have to face with every day, that how can I maintain affordability, basically, at a level that I'm still competing with the cheaper end, but my product is far more better, basically, which it is. So, you know, some years ago, I was able to knock on a door, but it took me a while. It took various knocks on the doors to be able to import direct. So those that are French laces, now not all of them are, but those that are French laces, and I state that to my girls, they're imported direct, which means that it comes straight to me. So I do not have to go through all those individual wholesalers or middlemen, as I like to call them, and it means that I'm able to price my gowns competitively. So, and I feel that that's what's also kept me afloat to this day too. So, but as far as business setback, no, I've always believed in doing things, I've done things slower. Like I said, slow and steady wins the race. Yeah. Some people, and even my husband sometimes has said, Jose, why don't you do more celebrity? And I go, yeah, I am. I'm doing them for my brides because they're all celebrities to me. And I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Now, I want to touch on, like, the fashion industry is changed and it's probably constantly changing quicker than we think. And like every industry, legal, accounting, marketing, it's all changing. But what do you do, and I suppose, to keep evolving and keep up to speed with the changes?
Okay, well, I just basically just keep up with what's going on around me in general. For instance, who would have ever thought that I would have been doing so much social media? Where was social media a few years back? Where was Instagram a few years back? The fact is that you've got to keep up with just the evolving times. You've got to do it. So if it means that I have to spend more time doing it, doing social media work, and less time maybe on website work, well, that's what I've been doing. So as far as fashion, the evolution of fashion goes, well, Louise, I have to tell you, I'm very lucky because when I started my business, I never thought in the life of me that I was still going to be going. I never really thought about, am I going to be here in 10 years? Am I going to be here in 20 years or 30 years? I just kept working. The fact that next year will mark 30 years for me, well, a full fashion cycle, and I mean, other people may say this is incorrect, but no, I will say that it is correct. A full fashion cycle takes 25 to 30 years to evolve. So if you look at the fashion today, and perhaps even ask your dear mother, and she will tell you, yes, that's correct, the leg of mutton sleeves are back. Okay, they might not be as exaggerated as what they were back in the 80s, but they're back, back in the late 70s and early to mid 80s. And your generation, or the millennial generation, are loving it. And you know what? I'm loving it too, because I have all my blocks. I have all my blocks, and I have all my blocks in the sense that I have minimal blocks, because I was taught to cut straight onto fabric. See, that's another thing. I was taught to cut straight onto fabric by my dear mother. That's why when I went to RMIT initially, it just didn't go down well with those lecturers, because they wanted me to do cardboard patterns. And I really didn't want to do cardboard patterns. I had to do them, obviously, to get my degree, but I cut straight onto fabric. But I've kept toiles, which are like calicos, calico blocks, and I've been pulling them out lately because it's come back. Everything has come back. All the flounces. I don't know if you can see a few things, bits and pieces here, but all the flounces have come back. How lucky am I, that all that's come back, but at the same time with a modern, really at the same time with a modern approach, because, what I found is that the brides of today, the younger brides of today, but just brides of today in general, they are driven by what they see on Instagram in particular. Okay, Facebook has evolved more for an older, more mature generation. LinkedIn is professional, but yet LinkedIn is working very well for me, really, really well. Really they're driven by what's on Instagram. You just gotta keep moving. As I said, little steps will lead to the bigger picture eventually. And you know what? The bigger picture, like in my case, I haven't got to that yet. For me, it's like, really? I want to know that, okay, as I said, I'm in my early 50s now. I want to know that I'm still doing it. Although my husband doesn't want to hear this at all, but he knows that there's no retirement for me. I want to know that in 20 years' time, I'm still going to be here doing what I do, making people happy. Yeah. So, yeah.
Now, back 30 years ago, there wasn't Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. There was none of that. No. How did you build it?
Okay. Well,
Romeo Bestone, what did you do?
Back then, though, it was all Yellow Pages, Louise.
Yellow Pages.
Okay, and magazines. Yeah, Yellow Pages magazines. The bigger the ad in Yellow Pages, the better it was. But, financially for me, that really wasn't a viable thing for me at the time, because as I said, I started my business in the Nicholas Building in the city, 1 studio room initially, then on to 2 studio rooms. I was there for 8 years, where I pretty much raised my son, Roman, there. And I was working also, but I was doing magazine ads. I mean, magazines these days, it wasn't until maybe just a couple of years back that I stopped with magazines, because I found that it's really social media based, but more than that, and I will be honest in saying this, if you start to build a clientele, it's word of mouth. So really, I do my social media. Yes, my website is as detailed as what it is, but a good 90% of my work comes through referrals. Yeah. And I know that, people will say, wow, that's quite a feat. But remember again, it will be 30 years that I've been in business. You have to build it. You have to build it over the years, because again, what you put into anything in life, trust me, it will come back and you will get it. You will get the benefits out of it.
Yeah.
So,
And before we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you'd like to share with others?
Look, as I said to you, that I walk into my premises every day as if it's a new beginning. Okay. Don't ever feel that you've reached your goal. Aspire, strive for something even better. Basically, every little step leads to a much bigger outlook, much bigger picture. So, and I have mentioned this before, wake up in the morning. This is how I do it. I wake up in the morning and I just give myself, I set myself the goal that I'm going to achieve this, to give myself a purpose. So if I have to end off in saying one life suggestion is give yourself a purpose in life. Give yourself a purpose for waking up in the morning, whether it be just for taking your dog for a walk or just whatever. Just give yourself a purpose. Doesn't matter how little it is or bigger, you know, for that purpose. Just yeah.
Josephine, you're amazing, and I always love chatting to you, so thank you.
No, thanks, Louise. Thank you, Bella. You're gorgeous. Thank you.
And that's it. Another episode of Gatehouse Insights draws to an end. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sharing this video with your friends. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Gatehouse Legal Recruitment YouTube channel where you can see more.